Hey guys, my name's Skywalker, and this is my review of Final Fantasy 15 Platinum Demo. Final Fantasy 15 is slated for release on September 30, 2016 on PS4 and Xbox One, with a planned PC release somewhere in the future. Now to preface this, I've at least played every entry in the main series. My favorite games were from the SNES and PlayStation era, but I also have fond memories of Final Fantasy X on PS2. I've also had extensive playtime with the first of the MMO entries in the series, Final Fantasy XI. I personally felt that Final Fantasy XIII, the previous mainline entry in the series, was a bit of a letdown. The gameplay was quite shallow, and it served as more of a tech demo for Sony's, at the time, fledgling PS3. The latest iteration of the series seems to address some of that. The battle system has adopted a Kingdom Hearts style real-time combat, and there is a bit of depth to be had. The first thing I noticed was the control scheme. It adopts the controls of most modern day games, where the right analog stick controls camera movement, and clicking the left analog stick button causes you to sprint. For ease of targeting in combat, you can click the right analog stick button to lock onto enemies. And even if you don't want to use this feature, your character will soft lock onto nearby enemies to attack. All in all, camera management was not really an issue for me, but those used to less action-oriented styles of previous entries in the Final Fantasy series may need time to adjust. The demo begins in a lush forest environment where you're introduced to your companion, Carbuncle. He seems a lot like the Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV incarnation, and fans of those games will feel a bit at home. This part of the demo also has some of the cool sights and sounds, and shows off some of the ambition of Square Enix's latest game. Hopefully this is only a small taste of what's to come in the final game's huge open world. The scene then shifts to an Alice in Wonderland style giant magic house where everything is huge. Jump on top of this table and battle it out with some enemy creatures while the impressive volumetric lighting is on display front and center. The game uses dynamic resolution scaling, where it drops its resolution to try to keep a 30 frames per second refresh when things get hot and heavy. At times this kind of sticks out with some noticeably jagged edges, but hopefully the finished game is more seamless and Square Enix will show us just how good they are. Final Fantasy games are always head and shoulders above their peers technically. You also get to try out Final Fantasy XV's driving engine in this part of the game, and it controls like pretty much any other modern driving game. You have your accelerate on the right trigger, and your decelerate and reverse on the left trigger. No doubt driving will be a big part of the final game's huge open world. The next part of the demo has you running through a cityscape that reminds me a lot of Final Fantasy VIII. You really get a chance to see the dynamic weather and day and night cycle make an impact here. Check out the specular effects on Noct showing off the wet clothes effect. You also get to curiously transform into animal creatures to fight enemies. I wonder what will become of this in the final game. This part also shows off some cool role-playing aspects, as you get this hammer that does way more damage than your previous weapons, and it can be a lot of fun to stomp around with it. The final act of the demo is the real coup de grace. You square off against the iconic Iron Giant monster, which fans of the series will instantly recognize. Here you can take the battle mechanics out for a test drive. There's definitely a read and react type of gameplay, where you have to defend by holding down square, and then find windows of opportunity to attack by holding down circle. It's quite cinematic, fast-paced, but at the same time very tactical. It rewards skilled gameplay, which I like. Not too long into the fight, the Iron Giant will start to use a gravity move that draws you in, and you'll have to sprint away from it to avoid it. It'll be interesting to see if sprinting is incorporated heavily into the mechanics of the final game, as I found this was very fun. Later on, you unlock warp attacks, which are cool and cinematic, and stun the Iron Giant for follow-up attacks. And finally, you'll unlock a limit break style attack called Armiger, which can be triggered by hitting both L1 and R1 together. This triggers a faster and more damaging attack to try to make a last-ditch effort to finish off the enemy. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed. This demo definitely gives me high hopes for the final game. And if you're currently playing Star Wars Battlefront, check out my channel, where I'm currently producing a lot of videos about that game. I started out focusing on the Starfighters, but lately I play all the modes, including Walker Assault, Fighter Squadron, Heroes vs Villains, and Extraction. And even if you don't play it, you may be convinced to try it out for yourself after watching my videos, and join me in all the fun. Well guys, my name's Skywalker. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks. See you.